Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
And we're back and better than ever. Woo! Okay, that was a lot.
No, it wasn't enough. You're excited. It's Football Friday.
Football freaking Friday.
Got the-
And Broncos are back at home this weekend.
What do they play for up north? They don't play for the Bronze Boot. What do they play for?
Don't know. Let's keep this.
CUCSU.
He's about to pick up
You
that
got
song.
CUCSU tonight. You got Buffs big game tomorrow.
Yeah.
Of course.
A lot of big football
Broncos,
going on. this
Big
weekend.
football. Weather's changing. High school playoffs. In
Get
full
into
swing.
it.
Yeah. Middle school finals, like Pop Warner. It's all going on.
I'm going to a preschool
Piano recital.
Pee Wee football league tonight.
Are you?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I'm
Oh,
not.
Okay.
We were going through
Yeah,
every
no,
age
Michael
group.
Malone,
got
I
me
think, was
there.
at his daughter's
Yeah,
high school
Mountain Vista
volleyball last
won.
night. Did they?
They
Okay.
did.
So then it
They
becomes
did.
a question. If you're Michael Malone and you play tonight and the state championships are tomorrow, it's his daughter's last state championship. They've been there 6 straight years. Do you fly back and then fly back?
Because you're a girl,
Because
Dad.
you're
What would you
between-
do?
Missed the game. Missed the Nuggets
No,
game.
no, miss Friday, Sunday game.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah, so hop on a
Hop on a
plane.
plane, man.
Oh,
Get
yeah.
a PJ.
They're going.
PJ.
Yeah, they're going to New
Yeah.
Orleans.
Yeah.
and that-
Pop some bubbly.
But is that,
Yeah.
well, that's if you win. Then on the way back,
Or just get on a Southwest flight last minute and you're in like C32. So you got to work your way to the back.
Can I tell you guys something? I flew first class for the very first time.
and
First time ever?
Yeah, and now I'm kind of worried because I don't think I can ever go back.
oh well.
Were you like, I'll take the mixed nuts?
I said,
and
I'll
the-
take the chia seed
warm-
pudding.
Oh, they have
Oh,
that.
did
right?
they-
Yeah,
did
with
they-
the mimosa and some
Did you just get
coffee.
upgraded today when you went out to Debo? And
Yeah, Bleach Report's the one that books all my flights, and they said, "Here's your seat," and I was like, "Huh, I'm in 3." I was like, "What's that?" And
So
I
is this going to
looked.
be a normal thing now going
No.
forward? Why?
I think it was just a one timer.
No, they can't.
That
do
might have
that
been-
and
that
pull
might have been
away.
the- was it-
right. They
what-
can't dangle the carrot.
Was it?
No.
Yeah, once you have steak, you don't want to go back to
Hamburgers?
hamburgers. Although, I
Okay,
like-
first of all,
don't like
hamburgers are great.
Yeah,
Yeah, they are.
that's
Those
always
are
a
bad
funny.
comparison.
it's
But do you remember when what's his face, Vic Fangio went to Elway's with like the Broncos brass when he was first
Yeah.
hired, and then he ordered a cheeseburger.
You didn't own a suit.
You know what? Whenever we go to steakhouses, my dad, if he doesn't order a cheeseburger, I'm like, "Are you feeling okay?"
Really?
Steakhouses do
Yeah.
have great
They have great
He
cheeseburgers.
loves a cheeseburger.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's kind of a
Loves it.
silly statement. That once you have steak, or a silly saying, once you have steak, then you don't want to go back. Like, no, it's much easier to eat cheeseburgers all the time and then make steak something
Have you
special.
ever watched Gossip Girl?
Not
Where Blair
religiously, I'm
Waldorf
familiar with
says,
the
"Once
show.
men have tasted caviar, it baffles me that they settle for catfish."
Which one was Blair? Is that Blake Lively or is that
Blake
Leighton
Lively is
Meester?
Serena.
So
Leighton Meester is
yeah.
Blair. Yeah.
Awesome.
right,
You do
back
have
to football.
movie knowledge.
Back to football. Let's do
Yeah.
this.
Woo! Okay, Broncos at home.
Yeah,
I'm gonna try not to.
Oh, I'm excited. I got the best night's sleep I've gotten in years.
2 hours.
Wow. How
No,
many
like
hours?
6 hours without being woken up. And
Awesome.
then my 4-year-old came in. She's 4 now. I think of her as 2-year-old. She came in at 5:40 and my wife's in Phoenix. So then I fell back asleep. 6 hours uninterrupted.
That is
All right.
good. So that's why he's in such a good mood.
And I'm interrupting you guys.
He's jolly. Yeah, that's perfect. That's okay. I
Normal,
think we're
that's
pretty used
normal.
to that.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
never
we're good.
not happened.
But Justin Simmons back in Denver. I think that's going to be kind of, I don't want to say sad, but I think it is hard to see Justin Simmons play for another team. It is my hope that the Broncos put together some sort of little special "we love you"
I
type
heard
of
they
moment.
weren't going to.
Yeah, I heard that as well.
They're not?
And
They're
we
not.
I don't know if we've even talked to the same people,
Oh,
but
so you're haters then,
Well,
Broncos.
I think
No, Sean Payton relative. It's not my hump. I didn't. Justin Simmons not my player. I wasn't here with that. No, he doesn't want that distraction. That's
Yeah.
not his thing.
that's probably one of those things where I'm not saying he's not involved, but there's a chance that they went ahead and just assumed that he doesn't want it,
Yeah,
that he wasn't even asked. Because like we could ask him today.
don't want to upset him.
Well, just yeah.
Well, that's.
any
I
of
think
it.
that's kind of poopy.
They should
Poopy
do
caca.
something. I mean,
They
there's a
should
way
do
to
something.
do it.
That is that's rude.
There's a way to do it, but not make it this huge, like dramatic 5-minute video, but to have some sort of little,
Give him a
montage
1 minute 30-second
during
or
a TV
Jeez,
timeout
what
or-
is that?
between the quarters or something.
Is that so hard? Is that so much to ask?
And admittedly, when I asked this, I want to say that I asked it Wednesday midday, and today's Friday. So
yeah.
there's a chance they weren't aware of it Wednesday, the person that I asked, and by today they would be. So
There's a way to also kind of draw attention to Justin during the game at a
Agreed.
moment without having a big video montage with like produced thing. But like, give it up for Justin Simmons.
Right. Just do something.
They'll do something.
Small.
You're absolutely right. There's the easiest thing where on a nothing play, we know every play matters, but early in the game, especially if he makes a play on a rundown
Yep.
or first down catch by Cortland Sutton, tackled by Justin Simmons, assuming that the Broncos don't go up tempo.
I think the crowd will give him the love.
Yeah,
that
the
he
crowd
needs,
will
for sure.
Yeah, because I know that Justin would love that acknowledgement, but isn't seeking it, if that makes
Right.
sense. Because I think he's someone that genuinely cares about what people think of him, and not that like, oh, I care about, but just that there was he loves this community so much, still lives here, will continue to live here. His wife and kids, this is where they're going to make their home forever. So we will see Justin like we see so many former Broncos, like Nate used to play for the Broncos, and so many of his former teammates
He did.
that still live here. He did.
A couple years. Yeah.
He was in the game where Jake Plummer threw for almost 500 yards.
Yeah, did you hear about that?
Yeah, it was.
I think
it
I
was
did
big.
hear that.
Yeah.
I think I saw
so
that on the
I
Girls
think it's just
Sports social media page.
I think like anything, you're always like, oh, how am I going to be received? That's kind of how will the crowd embrace me, or will they boo me? Like, we know he didn't want to leave. He would have happily been here as the starting safety, and so I think it'll be great to see him. You'll see him get as much love. Here's the real question:
Ooh,
who does he do the jersey switch with? PS2, Garrett
has
Bowles,
to be PS2.
Yeah,
Garrett
probably.
Bowles,
Has to be
probably
PS2.
PS2.
Maybe
Probably
Bo Nix.
PS2. What does he do with Bo Nix? Say, hey, Bo, I like your game.
BK,
You know?
mix them off.
And they're neighbors, so there's that.
Oh, they are?
Yeah,
What's
Like-
their
BK,
address?
BK knows everybody's personal
I
information.
don't know their address, but you can do some. I happen to know where Justin lives. I don't know where Bo lives specifically. I know the neighborhood because I read it on the newspaper.
I was just kidding. But the Justin Simmons
Don't
thing.
piss him off. He's got the best sleep of
Yeah,
his life
that's
last night.
right.
Don't ruin his
That's
day.
right.
All right.
So the
Gosh
Justin
sakes.
Simmons thing, like, all pro player, one of the highest paid safeties in the league, played at a really high level, but was on a losing team. And eventually, a new regime came in and said, we don't want you here anymore. So like, that's got to hurt. No matter how successful you were, no matter how much you're loved in the community, you still feel like you're not wanted.
Yeah.
So like what Brandon was saying about, wanting the recognition, wanting people to tell you they cared about you. I mean, that's human nature. After you put
course.
so much, not just into the team, but into the community. Community relations were huge when I was here for the Broncos, and I didn't have a foundation and do this kind of stuff like Justin did, but it was always stressed to us how important it was to be out in the community doing good work. I mean, we all had to kind of take our turns every other week going to community events on Tuesday, charity stuff when on our day off, and we get signed up for that stuff. And it was just great to interact with like boys and girls clubs and people around
Yeah.
the city that you never get to see as
He
a
was
football
very
player.
involved. I think
Yeah.
this will always be home.
Yeah.
Well,
to
and just to add on to that real quickly, you talk about just that standard, and it is something that in Pat Bolin's time here was really important, and that's why so many players do have foundations or are involved at the Boys and Girls Club or when they're doing anything. And the Broncos do a great job of highlighting it without throwing it in your face, like, look at all the great stuff we're doing. But no, here's players helping put holiday meals together, whatever it may be. But this is where I knew Justin was different. Was he and Will Parks came in together as rookies, and they would go, at least by their second year, they were talking to high schools every week. They would go, each of them separate their schools. They were just talking to schools, but I think it was mostly high schools. Then he did all the stuff at the Boys and Girls Club and the March for Peace that he did with the two young ladies that he worked with for a lot of years closely. He started his own foundation, but not until like year 4 or 5 because he watched how everybody else did it. And I've seen lots of players support their teammates at a lot of events. And you can ask anyone that's been here the last 8 years and that was here or just around the team. There's never been a player for the Denver Broncos or maybe for any team anywhere that has attended more of their teammates' events than Justin Simmons. No matter what, Kareem Jackson has this, Von Miller has this, DT, man, whatever it was, Justin was there on a Monday or Tuesday or a Saturday, whatever. It was unbelievable, his attendance, especially then once they started having kids, and now they have 3 little ones, but he still was there. And sometimes his wife, and when it was just their first daughter, it was remarkable to see. And then it was also interesting to see the way he waited to start his foundation because he wanted to see what he liked about other people's foundations, what maybe to do differently. And his foundation's done a lot of great work so far and will continue to. So it'll be great to see him, and you love to see him make a play or two. You just don't want to see his team win.
Yeah, not too many plays, right?
Right, only one.
No interceptions, maybe a couple tackles late in the game.
Would be nice.
Maybe a garbage time pick of like Stiddy when the Broncos are up 30. and they put
That'd
in
be great.
Steady.
If they're up
Yeah.
30, I think everybody's. I mean,
You just mentioned a name that kind of made me a little sad. I think I really miss Kareem Jackson.
I think they miss his personality.
I was gonna say he
and
just brought
practice
like an
feel.
aggressive.
He was the loudest
Yeah.
talker at practice. If you went to a training camp practice, you heard him. He had no problem talking trash to his teammates, to the coaches, to whomever.
Your
He
turn.
really set the tone. He's on the Bills practice squad,
Oh, is he?
so
That's so
and you're
weird.
15.
Can I say that is my favorite thing that like I will just throw this outlandish ask out there and they don't even
Nate
question
don't-
it. They just do it. They're just
Nate's
like
always more participatory. I'll start singing. He'll sing. I like to play the straight man.
Yeah.
but he's
But he's
well
really
rested
not the
today. So
straight
now
man.
he's feeling
No, I'm the funniest of the three
silly.
of us, but I like to play the straight man.
You do it well.
That's the only thing I do well. Is show no emotion.
So I will say though that
Yeah.
Justin's replacement, Brandon Jones, is playing very well.
Shout out Brandon Jones.
Yeah,
That's
playing
it.
really well,
Mhm.
and that was a big question mark on the back end of this defense.
doing great.
You know, particularly those two safeties. Talk about Kareem, even though he got suspended by the league, and he was still a veteran presence back there who had seen it all. Right?
Yep.
Maybe lost a step, whatever. But two new safeties, relatively. Well, Brandon Jones has some experience, but unproven here.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was up and down in my. He didn't play 4 straight years. It was like he played, then he did, then he played, then he didn't.
And so to have and Riley Moss also. So basically 3 out of 4 new pieces. Do you need some coffee, Liv?
You okay?
I just housed a burrito right before I got here, so I'm going to be.
Yeah, I had a
burping.
breakfast burrito as well, but I'm not going to be burping.
Um,
Did you hear the Kelce's talking about Riley Moss on the? So I've seen that clip pulled and they shouted out Bo Nix. Travis shout out Bo Nix,
I
but
saw that, but no. What is
so Jason's totally unaware of who Riley Moss is. Jason Kelce, because they haven't had the Broncos yet. They will in a couple of weeks, and Jason does Monday Night Football on-field analysis or pregame, whatever. And he's like, yeah, and that white corner. He's like, wait, they have a white corner. And I think Cooper DeJean being an Eagle, he's at least so he doesn't. He goes, yeah, but he wears sleeves covered up, and this suddenly this whole thing about like wearing a neck thing and
That's not why he
visor.
wears sleeves, is it? Come on.
I think that there might be something to it. I'm not saying that this has been confirmed, but I do think that, I mean, even when they were in Florida, he's still wearing long white sleeves, and they were joking like, oh, where's the white corner? Like, I don't know. I mean, all these guys, I don't see any white corners.
kinda
He's
that
the
much.
only guy with white sleeves on. If you know there's a white
Yeah,
corner.
but now
it's-
once it starts to get cold,
look at his face.
you would think, but you only have so much time before the ball gets snapped.
Well, there's that theory's okay, but as the uniform inspector, I'll tell you that
As Karen.
it took several games for him to pull his socks up and to pull his pants down. He had this
So,
much skin showing.
You can see
Of his
legs were
white-
very white.
His white skin was showing. And so if he really wanted to cover up that white skin, he wasn't doing a
Yeah.
good job. It took me actually marking him down and then the league letting him know they couldn't do
Be
that.
proud of your whiteness.
This guy over here.
Exactly. Be proud of your be
Did you
proud
guys
of whatever
know-
you are.
Did you guys know I'm 50% white?
We did know that. I thought being proud of your whiteness was like a campaign slogan.
Then sometimes I forget about the white side of me. Like I'll just like make like a funny little. I'm not gonna ever say it on camera because we've just gotten way too sensitive in 2024. But I'll make like a joke about like, oh, that's I'll give my mom a hard time based on her
Skin
race
tone,
and group. Yeah. We'll just, my dad used to do stand-up comedy, so he's very funny and he does the same thing. We'll just make these little jokes. And my mom's like, do you forget sometimes? Like you are white.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's not
Well,
the, that's not the
don't tell the police officers that. They don't like, are you half white when they pull me over?
yeah, right. It's true.
Uh,
It's true. That's the side that
It
you don't
does
really
though.
think
Look, we don't need to spend too much time on race relations on this football show. But if you're looking for things that are good and bad, one of the best things about being mixed race of any kind or having is it does allow you, if you were in stand-up comedy, to have an even broader brush where you're like, hey, I can say this word
I
and
can
I
make
can
white
say
jokes
that.
and
I can
black
make
jokes. Yeah.
so without, I mean, people can be as offended as they want to be offended, but
I was the white receiver, which was also unusual.
Yeah.
With the last name Jackson, white. I was a rapper, white. There was
yes, Nate Jackson could
You're,
very easily
wait, you were a
be-
rapper?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jack Nasty. We've
Yeah,
talked
still am,
talked
Liv.
about this. He is a rapper. He
Yeah.
just doesn't have any new music out right now.
Yeah.
It's like Eminem didn't stop being a rapper.
Right.
He just
Right.
wasn't putting new
Well, I
stuff
need
out.
to hear some of it right
And
now.
I'm not comparing you to the only white rapper I could think of. I'm thinking of a guy who took a long time off
No,
music.
no. I'll be gladly be compared to one of the greatest rappers of all time.
There's that too. He's
Spit some bars
I'm not going
into
to
the
spit
mic.
some bars right now because
I
I don't
think
have
you
any bars.
should. I think
All my
you
bars
should.
are like buried so
Who would
deep.
you think is the best white rapper? Eminem, the Beastie Boys as a trio, or Drake?
Drake.
Definitely Eminem.
Commercially successful Drake is got to have sold more as much.
Drake's not
He's
considered
not
a
white.
white guy though. I know that's
He's as white as you
that's
are.
the joke.
He's
the
as
joke.
white as you are. His mom looks just like your mom, but she's.
I know, but Liv's not white. Like Eminem
is the most white.
Is all white.
What about third base?
third
Or
base?
MC Search from third base.
No, I don't even know who that is.
Pop Goes the Weasel. We're the same age. The song came out at the same time.
Okay, I probably know the song.
definitely know this.
But I don't have any
Anyway.
third
He's-
base albums.
He's lower. All right. MC Search is behind the Beastie Boys.
Eminem is not
Okay.
just the greatest white rapper. He's one of the best
rappers, period. Although
of all time.
he gave that list and he had himself like 7th.
Jay-Z,
He was being a
Reggie,
humble
Tupac, and Biggie. Andre from Outkast, Jada, Corrupt, Nas, and then
So he has
me.
himself 9th.
Yep.
I think he's higher than 9th. I have him above Jadakiss and Corrupt.
Yeah.
But
and then the whole like Biggie and Jay-Z. I don't know, man. I don't get down with Jay-Z.
Really?
Hey, speaking
I
of
do.
greats, Mike
do.
Tyson, Jake Paul tonight. Who you got?
Ooh. I mean, it's probably fixed.
That's how I feel, and I can't even bring myself to watch it because I don't want. Here's my dilemma. Okay, I can respect Jake Paul for pursuing this field and putting his head down and getting focused and whatever, but there is an overwhelming opinion from the public that Jake Paul's fights feel
Staged.
fixed, staged, rigged, whatever. He may pay them money. I don't know. I'm not involved in the process. I really am going to have a hard time with a great like Mike Tyson potentially being involved in a fixed fight and watching him lose to like a once
thing ain't
Disney
fixed.
Channel YouTuber. Like I want Mike Tyson to go out there and just absolutely, I don't want to promote violence, but
Well, it's a violent sport.
it is a violent sport. And
It's
I want
supposed
see
to be
some,
violent.
I want to see some violence from the Mike Tyson side of things. I really do.
I want to see that as well. And prime
really
Mike
do.
Tyson, really like 19-year-old Mike Tyson,
the
20,
Scary.
21, 22, 23.
the scariest dude on the planet.
I've been
Yeah.
told that he looked, because I didn't get to grow up watching him like in his prime like that. And I don't really enjoy watching men punch each other in the face. It actually really freaks me out. But I do feel like from what I've heard and what I understood, he would get in the ring and it looked like he was going to kill people.
And he would in like under a minute. And these towering men who are way bigger than him. And they're talking today about how, Jake Paul has a longer reach. Well, Mike Tyson's used to that. He knows how to get
He gets
inside
yeah.
with his head movement and his footwork. But he would just knock these dudes out with like one punch, and they would just be absolutely overwhelmed by this punching power. Just these huge dudes were just reduced to these like tiny, frail, like
Chat, can he
children.
beat Jake Paul? Yes or no?
Yeah, the only reason I think he can is because he's Mike Tyson. He apparently trained harder for this, and I realize at 58 you kind of have to. You saw him at the weigh-in. We've all seen plenty of 58-year-old dudes. They do not look like that, and part of it is that
And I don't think they're getting drug tested either. So probably
Yeah.
both of these guys are on
something,
on stuff,
something.
testosterone, steroids, whatever it might be. Jake Paul, that's kind of his thing. He doesn't go through traditional boxing like IBF or whatever. He doesn't get tested. He boxes these MMA fighters who are washed up, and yes, probably rigs the fights and gets to do steroids and all that thing. So it's like he says, "I own boxing. This is my sport," but he's never really fought an actual boxer
Yeah,
in their
If
prime.
he fought a Klitschko or something.
And if you think about like if he were to lose to Mike Tyson and get embarrassed, that could derail his money train. So that's the temptation to fix it, because like if he wins, the fights keep coming, the money keeps coming in. Maybe that changes a little bit. But then again, you lost to Mike Tyson, who's the greatest ever. You can justify that and get back on your train.
they have another one.
Oh, they have
They could have another one
Right.
if
if it was a good fight.
If it's an okay fight.
If it freaking sucked and they just played
Somebody
patty
said
cake.
the fight is going to be scripted in some way. Yeah.
It didn't look scripted yesterday when Jake Paul accidentally stepped on Mike's toe and Mike slapped him. I heard Ariel Helwani this morning on Dan Patrick saying, I wasn't around prime Mike Tyson because Dan was. He's like, this dude does not behave like anyone who is acting like this fight is fixed, and talking to his son who's on the broadcast who never saw him fight. He's like, I've never seen my dad react yesterday like he did, or I guess, but react to how he did when Jake Paul. He's like, these are the stories I've heard about. And so we'd like to think that it's not going to be fixed.
I hope not.
I'd love to see Mike Tyson win because I was not a big fan of Jake or his brother and kind of all the BS. And he doesn't mind being the bad guy or being the heel or any of that. But also, he and I grew up in a time where Mike Tyson was the baddest dude, and MMA hadn't really turned into anything that it certainly became now. So you're like, who's the baddest guy on the planet? And it was Mike
always
Tyson.
the heavyweight champ.
It was the heavyweight champ of the world.
Boxing was it.
And when he lost to Buster Douglas, it was such a bummer because he'd had such a dominant run. And then you had really after that.
After that, was that when he started biting ears and getting a little
here. He goes to jail
crazy.
for
Losing. Did not. So he was a Some may say a sore, violent loser.
He was losing at Vander Holyfield. That's when he bit his ear.
Yeah, but after
But that was
losing
after he got out. Of
yeah,
jail.
that was and after he lost to Buster
He
Douglas
lost
in
his
Japan.
You know, he was out of his prime. And
How
now
much would someone have to pay you to get punched by Mike Tyson?
I would do it. I mean, I'm not afraid to get punched by Mike Tyson. I would get paid to do the fight.
Yeah.
But
So
I would,
what's that number?
You know, $1,000. Let's do this.
Sociopath.
Love the challenge. I mean,
He's a
look.
psychopath.
Well, here's one thing I learned.
We're
Okay.
sitting next to a psychopath.
No, here's what I
don't know,
learned when I
100 grand
became
a grand should cover my costs.
when I became a pro football player. Here's what I learned: these are just human beings, and I know that he punches super hard and all that. But like, I used to have conversations with my friends in high school about this stuff. Could you take a punch from Mike Tyson? Could you take a hit from Levon Kirkland, who back then was like the biggest, baddest linebacker in the NFL? And they said, no, you couldn't even take it. I said, yes, I could. He's a human being. These are human beings. And when I got to the NFL, I realized these are all human beings. And when you're in that moment with your adrenaline going, you are also ready for that fight. It doesn't hurt like that. Like you think it's going to hurt. Ow, that doesn't hurt. Like if I was just sitting here and he walked up and punched me, yes, that would hurt. But if I was ready for a fight, trained and in the middle of a ring, my adrenaline would be as high as it could go. And so I'd be able to, I'm not saying I'd beat Mike Tyson or be able to like take a, but like it would be okay. It wouldn't kill me. And it wouldn't kill you.
Kill me.
No, it wouldn't. You'd be able to take a punch from Mike Tyson, Liv.
All right, let's get back on to Broncos talk. Everyone's like, hey, I hope the Broncos can bounce back this week.
Yeah.
For
Hey,
our
guys,
title.
football?
Yeah, sorry, guys. This is like,
We're gonna start the show now and start talking football.
I know. I already know the comment section on YouTube's gonna be like, skip to 21-17 for football talk. Yeah, well, we're just having fun. It's a Friday. Everyone lighten up. All right. But yes, so right now, Broncos slight favorite. 1.5. It's a virtual pick 'em in this one, meaning Vegas thinks this is going to be a pretty evenly matched game.
Well,
pretty close game here.
Wait, what is it now?
-1.5.
Oh, so the
Virtual pick 'em.
Falcons, people are betting on the Falcons because the Broncos were 2.5-point favorites most of the week.
So if you're a fade the public person, maybe back the Broncos here.
I'm not saying the Broncos will definitely win this game. The Falcons have. It's not exactly a true big three because I don't know what Kirk Cousins really is in terms of the pantheon of quarterbacks. Like, where is he on your top 10, top 20? But he's a good quarterback. But then with Drake London is emerging as a top receiver.
Mhm.
Kyle Pitts is as physically gifted a tight end as we have in the league. And Bijan Robinson, if Derrick Henry, we have to put in his own category. But if Saquon Barkley, I think is probably safe to say is the best, feels like is the best running back playing right now, not named Derrick Henry. Bijan Robinson is in that sphere with Alvin Kamara and Christian and he's trending it. So they
and
can,
Tyler Algier also a good 1-2
nice 1-2 punch. And so then Mooney certainly is a nice complimentary receiver as well.
I got him on my fantasy team.
Yeah,
He
and
actually pulls numbers
for the big games. And so
they're very different receivers. Drake London, Darnell Mooney. Drake London, a big, rangy kind of X receiver, not a possession receiver, but a big, longer guy. But Darnell Mooney is like, the smaller guy who's gonna make guys miss.
He gets open.
They got
Ray McLeod too, who's super fast, and in their return game as well. So we know the Broncos defense is really good, but they have given up some big plays here and there. They put themselves in bad spots, like they did early against the Ravens, like they did early against Carolina. It's not going to surprise anyone if the Falcons go out and score 24, 28 points. I get that the Broncos D have been really good lately, minus the Ravens game, but their defense is not good, even with names on the back end and Grady Jarrett up front still, who's about 100 now. But they're 24th overall, and they're really bad in pass defense. They don't have a pass rush. They have Matt Judon too.
They only have 9 sacks this season. I think they're last in the league in putting pressure on the quarterback. The Broncos offensive line is playing really well as well. Bo Nix not getting pressured a lot. I think they're top 10 in protection metrics and things like that. So it's really, in this game, it's Broncos strength versus the Falcons strength. Is the Broncos defense, and then the Broncos offense, which is not as good as their defense, versus not a very good Falcons D. So I think it could be an even game, and I think the Broncos are going to have to score some points. The Falcons are going to get their points, and it's going to come down to whether or not Bo Nix could dial it up. But I also think this is a game in which you got to control the pace on the field, which means keep Atlanta Falcons offense off the field. So Audric Estime, give him the ball. Establish the ground game, chew up the clock, let your defense rest, And when they get on the field, they can attack and put pressure on Kirk Cousins. The Broncos are putting pressure on quarterbacks among the best in the league. Zach Allen is like third in the league in quarterback pressures. And they got these guys off the edge. Nick Bonito playing at a high level. Jonathan Cooper, JFM, Jonathan Franklin Myers playing well. So they need to overwhelm Kirk Cousins and neutralize all these weapons. You do so by putting pressure on the quarterback and getting him on his ass. And the way you do that is to milk the clock when you're on offense. So when your defense steps on, they can pin their ears back and attack.
So Kirk Cousins, wow. Kirk
That's what they need to
Cousins
do.
right now ranked 17th in terms of being the 17th most sacked quarterback in the NFL right now.
Feels kind of
At
middle of the pack.
20 so
20,
far.
yeah.
Yeah, middle of the pack here. There is a bet right now in the game specials featured section on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. I'm looking at it right now. Denver Broncos to record 5+ sacks versus Atlanta is plus 650. That's a lot
plus
of stacks.
650.
But
Okay.
plus 650 might be worth a little sprinkle there. $10 to
Sprinkle
win
me.
65.
Yeah, you put 1,000.
Sprinkle
can
you.
win
Sprinkle me,
65,000.
man. It's an E40 song. You don't know about E40? Do you know who E40 is?
650,000.
Oh my gosh, you don't know who E40 is.
I never said that.
Do you
don't know about
who
Bay
E40
Area
is?
rappers?
Yes, I do.
Do you know where he is from?
Atlanta.
Bay. I literally just said Bay Area.
Oh.
Bay Area. Do you know what about Too Short? You heard of Too Short?
Huh?
Too
You heard of
Short.
Too Short, the rapper?
Wow.
Coming straight from
No, but
Oakland?
I've
Too Tall?
No,
Have you
I,
heard of him?
I,
Ed
I,
Too
I
Tall
grew up
Jones?
listening to Too Tall, not
Ed
Too
Too,
Short.
Ed Too Tall Jones.
Yeah,
Average
I
height?
don't
he
listen
was
to
a
Too
boxer.
Short. I listen to Too Tall.
Wow, no Too Short, huh?
Man,
Man,
it's disappointing.
this is wild.
What about Rapping Forte? Not as
No
popular.
chance. No chance.
Not as popular.
Players
Bay
Club?
Area.
Mm-mm.
That's a good song.
Spice One.
No, I still don't have my playlist from
Marshawn
BK of all these different
Well, I would
wonderful.
not put most of those songs on there other than Rapping Forte. Have you heard of MC Hammer?
You know what?
Is that a yes?
Yes.
He's from the Bay Area. He's
Hammer
a-
Pants.
he
Hammer.
was-
Hammer. Wait.
Hammer time.
Hammer
Hammer
Time.
Time.
And Hammer Pants.
Stop.
Hammer
he,
Pants.
He,
Yeah.
Get
he was a
toasted.
ball boy for the Oakland A's. I mean, the Las Vegas A's, but when they were in Oakland.
I actually did a dance to that when I was in high school.
What about Vanilla Ice? You know about
He's from
him,
Dallas.
Ice,
By way of
ice,
Miami.
baby.
Dun, dun, dun,
Yeah, so there you go. He grew up in North
Yes.
Dallas, but then claims Miami. Everybody's like, "You're from Carrollton, dude. Like, your brother's on the Carrollton High soccer team."
Someone on the comments mentioning Jaquan McMillian, how important this game is going to be for him, and that's a good point. Darnell Mooney, who we just fluffed up a little bit there, he's going to be that third receiver. Or actually, no, he'll be out there. But Ray McLeod, so you'll be on those guys in the nickel package. And
And they put Pitts off the ball too,
Yeah,
some or off
yeah.
the line.
so how are you gonna cover these guys? And when you go man, who's going to man up on these guys? And it's going to be a bit, who's PS2 going to be watching? Is he going to be shadowing Drake London? Is he going to step on Kyle Pitts sometimes? It's going to be hard to tell what they're going to do.
Is
But
Riley Moss playing well enough that let's say that when when Kyle Pitts is not in line as a standard traditional tight end, even if he's standing up off the line or split out wide, are we seeing enough from Riley Moss where they can travel both those and be like, hey, PS2, you're on Drake wherever he goes, and Riley, and you have to
I
obviously
think
be
they
able to
could-
adjust.
yeah, I think they could try that. I don't think Kyle Pitts is so transcendent as a tight end pass catcher that they couldn't try Riley Moss. Riley Moss is a longer, taller, rangier corner, and that would be someone who would have some success probably
Yeah.
against the tall tight end.
And well, I guess kind of along that same line, let's say they were playing the Eagles, which at this point they'd have to play in the Super Bowl, but a team that clearly has like AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. Do you feel good enough that those dudes can just, because I guess PS2 traveling is obviously sending Riley Moss somewhere.
Yep.
But to where Riley Moss can also just be assigned a guy, if it's that number 2 guy, which I guess is what happens anyway the second.
Yeah.
Like he's playing so well against clearly number 2 receivers. And when they play KC, which may not mean anything in that game, you could have a healthy Juju and a healthy Hopkins.
Yeah. And, there's nowhere to hide. They're going to find you. And so, it's tiring, though, going back and forth, chasing a guy around, because when you're a corner, you often get to just stay on your side.
Yep.
Whoever comes out, you line up. But when you're following a guy, it's a lot more running and a lot more communication and a lot more. It's difficult. So I actually don't love that. I think sometimes you do that, but you don't do it the whole time. And so the Broncos offense is going to have to score points regardless. And I like the idea of using Audric Estime. He looked good last week against a very good defense, against a way better defense than they're going to see today. Or I'm sorry, on Sunday with the Falcons. The Chiefs defense, top 5 in the league. Falcons defense, bottom 10 in the league. Audric Estime is fresh. He's healthy. He looked like he had a nice burst.
I'm excited about him.
The second half of the season, everyone else on the field, they're pretty banged up. They start to fall apart a little bit. Audric Estime, he's not right now. He's fresh legs coming off the bench, right? And so I would ride that and see how it goes. These young running backs, they're ready to go. They come into the league ready to go. That's why you often see these young running backs hit the ground running. A tight end takes him a while.
No pun intended.
Yeah, right. Takes a tight end a while to get his footing sometimes. Receivers don't always crush in year one, but running backs are ready to go, especially as the season wears on and they figure out the system, which, is a little bit complicated, but for a running back, not ultra complicated. You run to the hole and you run through the hole, you run through the hole, Liv. And so Audric Estime can run through that freaking hole.
Well, but that's kind of been saying for a long time is that rookie running backs make the easiest transition beyond blitz pickup.
Yeah.
But even just whatever the route concept is, they can handle that. And certainly being the natural instinct of wait for the hole developer, run to where the play's drawn up and just go be an athlete, that rookie running backs and I guess presumably rookie kickers make the easiest transition because there's less going on than there is at every other position.
It does depend on the system too, and the types of runs. Like, the zone blocking system requires some more patience from a running back to string it out and allow things to develop before you stick your foot in the ground and hit one of the holes that open up. But the power running game, and Sean Payton does both, but the power running game where it's to attack a specific hole, not any hole, exactly where it's going and you go downhill through that hole and you blow it up. And so Audric Estime seems more of like a power runner to me than the zone scheme running back, that you do the wide zone and stretch the field and then wait for the hole to develop. That's like the Christian McCaffrey,
Bijan Robinson, who's going to be in the same offense.
Similar system we're going to see. Styles make fights, and I think that it'll be really interesting to see how much they rely on Audric Estime.
I'm going to ask Sean Payton today because I didn't get a chance to Wednesday, although he did talk about 19 minutes about the 3 running back rotation, which he has told us multiple times he's not really ever figured out how to do. And when he's had his most success, he's relied on mostly 2 guys. Not that they won't sprinkle in a third guy, but it's been mostly 2 guys. And you think about whether it was Deuce McAllister and Darren Sproles or Reggie Bush, whether it was Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara in more recent years, that having those 2 and kind of that thunder and lightning approach. Well, you've got the lightning with Jaleel, and Estime is a big running back, but he's not Derrick Henry big, but he's noticeably bigger than Javonte Williams, who's not small, but Javonte's not big in stature. Audric Estime has enormous arms and is just built a little bigger. And so you can't have that thunder and lightning. It's okay, what does this mean for Javonte? And I think it means, based on what we saw late and how much Sean keeps talking about Estime, that Javonte is essentially your kind of emergency running back, if you will, or we'll play him when we need to if it's not working. But the plan is Estime and McLaughlin.
And the great thing about it is if Estime is working for you, it opens up the play action pass for Bo. And so you talk about these efficient quarterbacks that are, leading the league right now. Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, even Josh Allen to an extent, Jared Goff. Why are they so efficient? Why are their completion percentages so high? Because they don't have to throw a lot, because the running game is effective. And then when they do throw, it's a play action pass. So they're faking the run and everybody's coming up to stop the run. And then the guys are wide open. And so it's high percentage completions. That's what you want with Bo. You don't want him to go 29 of 39. You want him to go 21 of 26. That's the sweet spot, I think, for Bo, especially, a guy who can run like he can. But that means you have to establish the run early. But there's a style to the play calling. If you want to run the football early, does that mean you throw the football first to back them off, and then you run, and then they come? So there's an art to the play calling. You saw him do it in Tampa Bay. Threw the ball in that first drive all the way down the field and scored. And after that, after they got up, then they were able to run the football throughout the game. So this is where Sean Payton's expertise comes in. You remember they're playing against an NFC South opponent. They're 3-0 against NFC South opponents so far.
I'm just laughing. And Sean goes, "Why'd you say that to me?"
Like he didn't know. Why'd you tell me that? Like he didn't know. I mean, he's very familiar with that division.
Yeah.
And all those teams.
Yeah.
He's got a taste in his mouth when it comes to finding a way to beat those guys. And so I think he's excited about this chance.
I agree. I think it's definitely a winnable game, winnable spot for this Broncos team, especially given the nature of their last loss. I would like to assume that they've got a little bit of extra motivation working in their favor.
And I heard Tyler Columbus say this on the radio yesterday that
Shout out Tyler.
that moral victories, former guest on Dumb Jock,
Yeah.
that moral victories, when you're a good team, moral victories don't mean anything. But when you're an ascending team, like the Chiefs don't get moral victories. If the Chiefs go toe-to-toe, or Buffalo, either way, whoever loses that game this week, even if it's a 30-29 game or a 21-20, whatever it is, 10-9, there's no moral victory that you played them tough or you had them dead to right, or if you miss a game-winning field goal, have whatever happened. Like, oh, we had that game won. We know we can beat this team, especially for Buffalo. Buffalo doesn't get moral victories. The Broncos do. With what the 15-game losing streak meant, even though they played a lot of those games tough, this is the true definition of a moral victory. And so when you look at their path to the playoffs, and this morning on Fox 31 and Channel 2, I was asked about, are playoffs realistic? Obviously, we know that sitting here, they're realistic, but you don't have to do any funky math today. If the Broncos win out, I know that's still a big if, but by the time they get to the Chiefs, they may be playing for nothing. The Chargers is, I think, their toughest game at Cincy. Those are the two toughest, and they're in back-to-back weeks. But they control their own destiny. You don't need any extra help to get into the playoffs right now, other than win your games. The second they lose a game, and that's certainly very likely, just because we know how football works, then it gets trickier at 11-6. It gets even trickier at 10-7. And so right now they could finish 12-5 and firmly be spots
You
5.
think it'd be
5, 6, or
tricky
7.
at 11-6?
I think math is on their side, but it doesn't. I don't think 11-6
Has an 11 win team ever missed the playoffs?
a 12-win Patriots team with Matt Castle missed, or 11. They were 11, whatever they were then, and that was one less game. But when Matt Castle came in for Brady, they went either 11-5 or 12-4, whatever they were.
They missed the playoffs.
And they missed the playoffs. They didn't win the division that year. It's the only year that they didn't win the division in all the years that Brady was the starter, if you will.
Wow.
He showed you.
But
Wow.
no,
he told me. I don't know if it's
Showed you.
accurate.
Here,
Bang.
I don't know if it's true.
Mic drop from BK.
Mic drop.
Okay.
Someone up there mentioning the tight ends, Troutman and those folks, and then also
Yeah.
Marvin Mims. Marvin Mims. Will they continue to use Marvin Mims in the backfield and use that package and build off of that package? Because look, they gotta, defensive coaches wait to see what personnel run on the field before they call their defense for the next play. And they base it on who's in the huddle. So if they see 3 wide receivers, 1 running back, and 1 tight end, they put out a nickel defense out there. But then if Marvin Mims lines up in the backfield like a running back, all of a sudden the formation is something that's not kind of nickel friendly as far as the defense. So it puts the defense in a bind because of what you're doing with Marvin Mims in the backfield. And then it gives you all sorts of options on ways to exploit them. And I think, I hope I'll continue to see Marvin Mims in the backfield, get him some familiarity back there, a couple touches, and then do some play action off of that and build off of that package. The teams, it just gives your opponent one more thing to have to go study. One more thing to have to teach their guys what to do if they do this. It makes it a little harder to prepare and game plan for you when you have a guy like Marvin Mims in the backfield, not to mention he's good with the ball in his hands. And Sean Payton talked about that, just wanting to get him the ball.
Yeah.
And find a way to use his natural talents, because you see him as a punt returner, you see him stick his foot in the ground and make really great cuts, and has excellent speed. But how do you unlock that sort of skill set on offense? Because we haven't seen it from Marvin.
Right.
How do you get him going with this offense? He's another weapon, and you have to be creative, and that's what they're doing.
It also complicates the backfield log jam if Marvin Mims is getting 3, 4, 5 snaps at tailback. But you also have to use him as a decoy at some point. You can't just,
That's what I'm saying. Like once you give it to them, they know that. Then you start faking it to them.
Yeah.
Then you start doing you remember the fly sweep thing to Jerry Jeudy where they never actually gave it to him, but they would always just fake it to him.
Right.
And it's like, what are you doing? You got to give it to him at some point. But they've already given it to Marvin. So now they can throw him out there and have him run this way, and guys will have eyes on him, but then you go the other way. So you just build off of that. And
having an athletic quarterback helps too, especially if you're going to like fake a toss or fake that RPO is really going to work with Mims as much as anyone, I would think, and misdirection stuff. But I'd also like to see Marvin Mims just involved as a receiver.
Yeah.
We did see Devon Bailey get in the end zone for the first time. Do we want to go through the anytime touchdown props? Is there anybody that you
There are
love?
none available for me right now.
I like Estime to find the end zone.
I do too.
I agree. I think that's a great one. Let's build a little parlay here. Estime, anytime touchdown. Love it.
I think Vele is going to get in again.
Again, back-to-back weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
do.
Vele anytime.
He's going to start to emerge as the number 2.
Do you like that 5.5
But-
sack? I wouldn't put that in a. I don't know.
Is Josh Reynolds coming back?
He was activated, or rather, they opened his 21-day window. Drew Sanders for the second straight week.
Whoa, Drew Sanders.
We could see Drew Sanders for the
Excuse
second
me,
straight
I'm like
week.
a mess right now.
Okay, hang in there.
Jeez.
He's been practicing all week, and he's a full participant. So I don't know if they're just waiting one more week, or if we do see Drew Sanders.
Drew Sanders tore his Achilles, right? In off season.
It was April for sure. It was like right after the draft, or maybe before the draft.
Wow.
But yeah, was it Achilles? Either way,
so.
Second straight week of full practice. I'm trying to see what Broncos props are available. Bo Nix's yards are usually right around 215 against a bad passing defense. I certainly
go over on
no
that.
problem with that. Yeah, they just don't have any of the Broncos player stuff up yet on your FanDuel Sports app.
Yeah, not available. But I do like Estime. I don't know about Vele, but I do like Estime for sure to score. Do we have
Who
any other
else?
ones that we all three agree on?
Yeah, I like Estime.
Estime.
Maybe Bijan as well on the Falcons.
Yeah, Bijan scoring isn't that far fetched. It's hard to pick against this defense what pass catcher will find the end zone if and when someone does, and be like, oh, it's definitely gonna be Drake London, or it's definitely gonna be Kyle Pitts, or it's because inevitably someone does find the end zone. They don't go too many games without any touchdowns.
Right.
But picking who it is not necessarily that easy. So I don't love one. I think Bijan would be my safest bet as far as a Falcons anytime scorer.
So Bijan, Estime, and then
If Kirk
do we
Cousins
like Broncos
yards,
money line
if Kirk Cousins, yeah, I like the Broncos win. I like them to cover
-1.5.
and win.
Do you think they're gonna win?
I think they're gonna win. I do.
You think they might be up by
You
30?
don't seem convincing.
Why? I think they're going to win. I mean, I have a really good feeling about this. The Broncos are looking great. Falcons suck.
That's what I needed.
No, I think they're going to win. I think,
Good.
look,
Okay.
the little part of me is curious to see how they respond to these back-to-back losses and a really devastating loss in Kansas
Yeah, that
City.
one was tough. Oh god, that
How
was
is
tough.
this team going to respond? And I think that, look, I got a good inkling of it this week when they talked about that kick, when they talked about Alex Forsythe, when they talked about all that stuff. They're circling the wagons. They're supporting their player, right? They're supporting Alex Forsythe. You heard Bo Nix talk about it, how nobody works harder than this guy. Nobody does things the right way more than this guy.
They rallied around him. For
They
sure,
did,
which I
And,
then-
love.
he's dealt with harder stuff, and there's no doubt about that. I didn't know that story.
And then
but
Sean
cow.
Payton also talked about how it's the coach's fault.
And
They
Ben
took the blame
And
on
I
it.
love that he did that.
Exactly. And he's right. And so what it means is we're all in this together. It doesn't mean there was no fingers being pointed and then this guy gets cut.
Yep.
No, we're all
Can't do that.
our fingerprints, all of them are on everything that happens here. And I think that's exactly what you need to build something special. So I'm anxious to see this team come out energetically and put that behind them. And I think that, you could see a double-digit win by the
Yeah.
Broncos
Oh, I would
if
love
that
it.
were the case.
I
If
would
they were
love
able to
it.
play it like I think they could.
Ben Katwika, the special teams coordinator, yesterday talked for longer than any of the coordinators talked because there was kind of the most to talk about. He again reiterated, this is not on Forsythe, this is on us. And he's like, we've had good couple days of practice. We're going to respond well. And I even asked, I said, are you just essentially conceding? Because I didn't want to drill him on it because you don't even make a guy extra defensive. He kept bringing up that they're a top 10 unit more than once. He's like, we're a top 10 unit across the board. And we're like, yeah, we know you've got good special teams. We're focused on this one play that hasn't gone great, clearly. And I said, because you've certainly seen plenty of times where tight end is in that wing spot in case there's a fake or a need to throw the ball. And he's like, yeah, he goes, we look at it as, these operations are so efficient these days because it's not a linebacker who comes over to snap. It's not a backup quarterback. It's these, and he's right. We know how few, certainly thankfully in the last 20 years of Broncos football, they've had issues with the long snapper to the holder for any of their kick setups. And across the league, it just doesn't happen very much.
What?
But
I
that
thought
was his
my
tummy. He's a
tummy
little
was-
hungry.
Oh.
My burrito.
It's
I
settling.
saw him like
Went-
make a
so
sudden
it went-
movement. I was like, oh, he's passing wind.
No, that
No,
part.
just-
Live on the show.
It was like his battery's going down on his iPhone or computer with the
He's
sound off.
powering down.
It's powering down. But he acknowledged that. He goes, no, we want the best blockers. Thus, that's why you have
That was my heel. That was my.
it really?
It was
oh
my heel on the
God.
floor.
He didn't do-
I
These are really
swear.
good. These are
You guys
really
hear
good
that out
microphones.
there?
They
Liv
definitely did not.
farted.
No,
They definitely did not.
Swear.
They definitely
Yeah.
didn't. That was her
Definitely
heel.
I hate when you're trying to remake the noise.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And you
Oh yeah.
can't.
Oh, yeah.
No, yeah.
Heels,
Because it wasn't your heel. man.
Oh, there.
Oh yeah.
You heard it. See,
Okay.
heel.
But also, no one can
Heel.
hear that.
Oh my gosh.
Okay,
Could you
so
imagine?
do you want to give score predictions? And then, and
That would
I
be
wouldn't
horrible.
mind peeking at least at the CU in Utah. You've got big noon kickoff here.
Oh yeah.
So former Bronco Brady Quinn, Mark Ingram, former Sean Payton.
CU is
Star. They were
an
10.5.
11 and
Ooh.
a half point favorite.
It was
against
10 and a half.
Utah.
It's going, it's going that way.
So Utah's has been through a bunch of quarterbacks, and the starting quarterback is Zach Wilson's little brother.
Yeah. And
That's
our
actually
pal
kinda cool.
Romeo yesterday, as we were leaving the locker room, asked Zach, like, hey, you going to make it to the game? He's like, I can't. Game kicks at 10. They're big noon kickoff, noon Eastern, but
Mhm.
big noon kickoff, 10 o'clock in Boulder. You know what a Saturday is like for an NFL team. It's not grueling, but you still have to be
You're
in there. You
there.
got to go through a walkthrough, and you're cut loose, what, 12:30-ish on your best days, 1-ish, something like that.
Yeah.
So there's just no way, unless Sean's like, Zach, you're our emergency third QB. If you want to go watch your little brother play, great. There's no way Zach's asking. So Sean is going to have to tell him.
Yeah, and he's not doing that.
No. And I guess one of us in the press conference today be like, hey, you going to
Yeah,
let Zach,
do it. You should.
you going to let Zach sneak
should
out
do
early
it.
to go watch his little brother
Do him
play
a
in Boulder?
solid. Ask
Yeah,
Sean.
do it.
Yeah, then we'll get Sean's answer. Maybe I will
Yeah,
if I
you
get a
should.
chance to ask. I do want to ask about the 3 running backs thing. But yeah, so Zach's little brother, the quarterback, Utah, which has a bunch of guys in the pros. We know because a bunch of them are on the Broncos. This just isn't Kyle Whittingham's best team, although they did go toe to toe with BYU last week. And
Vele, right? Went to
yeah,
Utah.
Vele, Jonah Ellis, Cody Barton, Garrett Bowles.
Isn't
Tim
Jonah
Patrick.
Ellis' brother on the Falcons?
Kate-
He's the leading tackler for the Falcons.
Yeah, Caden. And it was funny. Sean told a good story the other day about when they drafted him. The Falcons were on the board, and he thought for sure Terry Fontenot was going to take Jonah too, because they know the makeup of the family and had Caden in New Orleans and now here. And he said, and then they did, and they went another direction. He goes, and the second that we took him, I got a text from Caden. He's like, I'm not going to say what it was. So I'm guessing it included some profanity, playfully, but
Mhm.
I'm guessing he would have liked to have played with his little brother.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Utah Utes put guys in the pros. Just this isn't one of their best teams, despite being preseason top 25.
And the Buffs are 7-2.
Mhm.
And then after Utah, who do they have?
They go to Lawrence, not to
Yeah,
Lawrence.
Kansas.
I'm sorry. They go to Kansas City to play at Arrowhead against my beloved Jayhawks, who are playing certainly better football.
And then Oklahoma State.
And then Okie State here the Friday after Thanksgiving.
And then maybe the Big 12 championship.
Big 12 title game in Dallas.
And then the Heisman ceremony.
You get the Heisman ceremony next week. And
A
then
lot of ceremonies.
if they're either top 4, because for Boise, I guess if they win their league, they have something to say about Boise and Army about who your 4 buys are. So they're either hosting a game in Boulder as essentially the 5th seed, or they get a bye and they're automatically into the playoffs, into a bowl game. Not only into a bowl game, but in like the traditional bowls. And I don't know that.
I had Matt Smith on Dumb Jock yesterday, and we
Mhm.
talked all the CU stuff. And he thinks that Travis Hunter. I was going to say Travis Henry. Travis Hunter is a shoe-in for the Heisman if they win their next 3 games.
Oh, yes. Yes. If they win their next 3 games and he just keeps doing what he's doing, even though you were talking the other day about you want to see his numbers even bigger.
Well,
it's
not even an argument. I just, I want him to win it, but I just wonder if the voters will let him because there aren't the numbers on either side aren't necessarily leading the nation either way. And so they'll have to appreciate the transcendent sort of thing he's doing. And will they?
I think they will. Voters have gotten younger and a little more sophisticated. There's a ridiculous number of Heisman voters. It's like 500 something. There's a certain amount in every region. And we know that all the time, like when Christian didn't win it, you get accused that, oh, we're not even watching those late West Coast games.
Yeah.
Well, conference realignment has changed that. There's no Heisman. Like last year, all those dudes were playing late games. When you look at the Michael Penix Jr. and Bo Nix and Caleb Williams. Caleb won it 2 years ago. Plenty of USC guys have won it, but they played, I guess, middle of the afternoon. Either way, if they win the next 3 games and they're in the Big 12 title game, and the votes aren't even due till after that, actually. They're due on that Monday, I guess. So that's like the 10th or whatever that is, whatever that Monday is. Then I would think absolutely, even if he's just 100 yards, touchdown, 6, 8, 10 catches, and every defensive snap, even if it doesn't come with many more interceptions, it's so unique that I think voters are sophisticated enough and understand how rare this is, especially in modern times for him to be doing what he's doing on a team that would have won their league or won their, been in their league championship and gotten to 10-2 when everyone's like, oh, it's a fun sideshow, but they're going to be 6-6 at best kind of thing.
Yeah, the winning matters when it comes to that. And then after that, no matter what happens, how is he used in the NFL?
God, that's going to be such a fun conversation.
Yeah.
And you see yet again, another story comes out this week. Deion's really doing all he can to make sure that Travis and Shedeur end up where he wants to, like just on teams. Like
right.
The idea that they're going to end up together, the only way that would happen, I would think, is if the Cowboys fall off a cliff, draft Travis, and then trade Dak for whoever's high enough up that would want Dak, because the Cowboys end up having to eat a big chunk of that contract and then draft Shedeur also. But
and then hire Coach Prime
Coach Prime. But that feels a little too much made for TV Disney. I do like him to win. The Pac-12 tried to force Utah and Boulder and CU to be rivals. It never really took. Now they at least Utah has BYU and Colorado can pick one of the Arizona schools or KU or K-State. Teams are used to seeing at least. But it should be a heck of a game. And I'll be there covering it. Jason, I'll be up there covering it for Gorilla. But I'm picking the Buffs to win. I don't know if they cover, but I'm picking them to win.
Yeah. Have I told you guys my Utah joke?
No.
I seen two guys walk into my bar and I said, "Hey man, you short and you tall."
Actually, you have told us that one before.
So,
Once you said it, I was like, yeah, I
oh
remember
God,
that.
damn.
I remember that unfunny joke you told.
There's a lot of unfunny jokes I tell. Yeah, I'm aware of
I
that.
still laugh though. Okay, well, we will be live Sunday for a post-game live show after the Broncos game is all said and done, and we'll hopefully.
What's your prediction on this game, Liv? The
I
Broncos.
hate score predictions.
Who's gonna win? Oh, you say the Falcons again? Dang, dude.
Man,
Wow.
really?
Call yourself a Bronco fan?
Well, she's
Oh,
we
screw
all picked
off
the Ravens.
because I picked the Broncos against
The Ravens?
No,
Yeah, that didn't bode well for me, did it?
No, I picked the Ravens that week, but I'm picking the Broncos this week.
I hope I'm wrong.
I won't be blown away if the Falcons pull out a win, but
I got to tell you, the biggest thing for me right now is the fact that, I still don't love this far into the season as much as I've loved watching Bo grow as a leader and as a quarterback. And I understand he's still a rookie, but having a scoreless half it's just not going to work much longer for the Broncos. And as much as I love their start against the Chiefs, that whole game, there was that feeling of they're not going to win unless they can get back in the end zone, and they just couldn't do it. So offensively, I just am still so on edge with whether or not they can play full 4 quarters. And we've seen Kirk in some good moments so far this year. So
I've heard lots of people call him Kurt this week. I think BJ called him Kurt. I think
Kurt?
Sean called him Kurt.
I call him Kirk.
His
Yeah,
name
his
is
name.
Kirk.
Yeah, Kirk.
But
yeah, so
You're not a believer.
I 100% am.
Oh.
I 100% am.
You
I
just
just
don't
want to. I
believe
just want to
believe in them.
believe for 4 quarters and not 2.
against teams that are just good on one side of the
That's
ball or okay on one side of the ball, but aren't good on the other side of the ball. I think these are games, especially if that bad side of the ball's defense, where Sean Payton kind of can get into his bag and thrive a little bit and match their offense. The difference is the Broncos defense has shown against, minus the Ravens, against superior offenses to be able to, or offenses with a lot of weapons to slow them down. You look at what the Steelers have done. I get Russ is different than Justin Fields, but they're figuring out how to put up a lot of points. The Chargers got their points early. I think the Broncos helped with that.
Right.
But the Chargers defense is what gave the Broncos problems. Because the Falcons defense is just pretty pedestrian, there's no reason to think the Broncos can't match whatever the Falcons are able to do. And these feel like games where Sean kind of thrives, and these games where we as fans or we as reporters that are around the team a lot are like, it feels like a game where they find ways to lose. Sean feels like finds ways to win these games historically, and I think even recently this year.
Well, the much maligned special teams unit, I'm hoping that they could come up with some plays on Sunday to kind of, feel good about themselves, whether it's just having good operations on the field goals and getting those. But maybe how about a nice return? How about a turnover on special teams, force a fumble on a punt, something like that. I think this special teams unit will be highly motivated, and I think Marvin Mims could have a nice return. Maybe to the house.
Love it.
House call.
Bringing Power
House call.
Field to its feet.
All right. Well, we'll be back on Sunday for another episode of Off Field, a post-game live reaction show for you. Make sure you're tuning into All Things Gorilla Sports. I'm Liv Moods. That's BK. That's Nate Jackson. And we'll see you Sunday. Bye.
Bye.